G'day, I'm Brenton from Server Tribe, and I'm going to walk through creating a project in Attune that has a blueprint to create a bootable USB disk on Windows. And I'm then going to load an ISO in it with an auto unattend that will build on a device that's sitting behind me here, an Intel NUC. Okay, let's get started. The first thing is we need to create a project in Attune. And the instance of Attune I'm using here is the Community Edition. You can download this from the website for free. So right here, I want to create a blank project. And this project will eventually contain multiple blueprints. So I want to name it Windows Storage API. But plural that, there'll be more than one. I'll create that. Switch project. I should have given it a nice description, I'll do that later. Now in the project, we're going to need some parameters to use in our blueprint. So if I open the parameters tab, we'll create a parameter. So one of the initial ones is, I'll be building this USB on a Windows machine that we refer to as the Windows worker. So we'll need a Windows node to connect to. Simply call that the Windows worker, so we know what it is. Then we'll need credentials to log into that machine. Administrator. The values for these parameters we'll configure later on when we go to build the plan. I'm going to need a directory path where all the files will be on the machine. Let's call this worker base directory. To identify the USB key when we plug it into the machine, it'll be given a serial, and that serial is what we'll use in the plan, and that's how the job will identify which USB key it's going to wipe and build on. Just call it disk serial number. That will make it super easy. Oh, I think that's all the parameters we'll need. If not, you can always come back and make more. Alright, so the blueprint creates a bootable USB. I've created that blueprint, I select the blueprint, and now we want to start creating our steps. We go to create step. I want to change the type to execute a Windows script. So the first step we would like to perform is cleaning the USB drive. We want it to target the Windows worker and the credentials. This is for the built-in administrator account. I'm going to be writing all these steps in PowerShell. Give it a larger timeout. To identify the USB key, we will create a variable for the serial number. And this is how we reference Attune parameters. So open curly brackets, disk serial number. Now, if we go back to the parameters, we open up the disk serial number. That's also here. Quite simply, it's the name, cleansed of the spaces, and the first letter is lowercase, and each new word has a first uppercase letter. So generally I like to cut and paste to avoid any typos. Eliminates any tears later down the track. Alright, so we want to pull in the disk attributes. So if we do a get disk on the serial number, and we can now use the serial number that is entered from the parameter. Now I'm going to write the command to clear the disk. Clear disk. Now I can go disk, so this will pull variable above, and we want the number attribute of that variable. We want to remove data. And because Attune is running this job, we don't want to have to sit there and respond to any requests that come up. So we put the command to not not confirm, that'll just all go through. And let's print out a log. Let's make this command verbose. Save that step. I'm going to copy these first 2 lines because we'll need them in the next step. Actually, we will, to create the new partition on that disk. So we now create another step. Create step. Execute Windows script. Create new partition. Configure all the parameters, the interpreter, increase the timeout, the new partition. Once again, we tell it where to go by getting the disk number from the serial number. And I'm using the serial number. I feel that's a lot safer than if we were to put a disk in, a USB key in, and set that number, because that number could change. We have the job set, but the serial number should follow the USB disk. So if we put in different disks, the disk number will change, the serial key won't. So that should avoid erasing the wrong disk. I've got some USB keys that are 64 gig. There's a problem with that. FAT32 file system does not like anything greater than 32 gig. So we will size this partition to 32 gig. We're going to create the GPT boot type. This is the new partition command. GPT type specifies the type of GPT partition. I'm just setting it to basic data. So if you copy that, and run back over to Attune, paste that in there. Actually, that's going over. Let's make this on a new line. Also, let's have it assign a random drive letter. We can grab the drive letter later on. I figured that was better than hard configuring a drive letter in there. We can save that. Now we want to format the volume. So if we create another step, the type is to execute a Windows script. Format partition. Enter in the required parameters, interpreter, increase the timeout. Formatting the volume, it needs the drive letter, but to get the drive letter we need the disk number. So we've got the disk attributes in that variable there. So to get the drive letter, we'll save these attributes to another variable. So we get partition, reference the disk number, and pull in the drive letter. And now we can format the volume. Using the drive letter, and we want the file system to be FAT32. Save that. From here, we want to copy across files for the USB key that we want to use. I've already created an ISO image from the automated OS installation that we use. Let's create another Windows script. I will fire up the worker. I'm running Parallels on my MacBook, and I have a Windows 11 virtual machine running on that. So there it goes. The worker has started, and that's the ISO image I created earlier with Attune. Now, in order to copy those files across, we need to mount that ISO image. Mount the ISO file. The practice of breaking up all of these steps is so that if there's an error, I can fix that individual step and continue the process on. It doesn't mean running it all the way from the beginning. And a job like this isn't so long, but if this was part of a bigger project of work where there's lots of building pieces to run, you don't want to have to go all the way back to the beginning. It's easier just to fix it and move on. This is where the parameter of the worker base directory comes into play. We'll copy that script reference, and we want the ISO file path as a variable, which will be not square bracket, curly brackets, and the kickstart. Now, how we've configured the jobs in Attune to build these ISO images, I go the right way across, is show file name extensions. Basically, kickstart will be prefixed in front of all the ISOs, so that makes it easier to then reference any kickstart ISOs. Kickstart ISO. Now, it won't work if you created multiple ones, but in the meantime, that's what I'm using. I'll refine it later on. We then want to mount that ISO. So I'm going to make this step a bit bigger. We'll mount and copy the data across in the same step. Mount and copy. So mount disk image path. Now it won't be able to use that variable above. So what I'll do is I'll do a command. I'll execute this command, child item path. That will find that there's a single, it will error if there's multiple files pulled in, should, but that will find the single file and pass the path into that image path. Let's break this up. Okay. Drive letter first. Get volume and retrieve only the drive letter. So that will give us the drive letters we need to now copy the item. So the first path is the ISO. So get that. Put the curly brackets around this so it makes it clear what the variable is. And we want to copy everything in the root directory. Now we want the destination to be the USB drive letter. Same again. Curly brackets. Root directory. And recursive. Have it stop for no one. Okay, that should populate our USB key with all the data we need. I will save that step. After that step is completed, we no longer need the ISO to be mounted. So the Windows script and go unmount ISO. For this, it's the dismount disk image, and I will use the image path. Get child item ISO file path, and let's have it tell me a story. I'll put that in here. There we go. That will dismount the disk image, and that's the blueprint created, and we're ready to jump in and create a plan that we can run. So we go across to our plan. I've already got a tree here that I use for other stuff. So because I'm going to run this on the worker, and it's going to build this nook here, this node. Yeah, I'm happy to create this here. So I'm going to create a plan, and I like to call everything by the device name first. It makes it easy to find them in the list. I can search for the device and create bootable USB. Create. Select the plan that we just created. We will add the blueprint that we've just created. What did I call it? Create a bootable USB. Now once you've selected the blueprint, save that and it will populate the parameters that you need to run this job. Now, if we have a look at the base directory, we're going to use c/auto-installer. So I've already got some of these created because I use them for other stuff. Have a look, that's my base directory. I call it the auto-installer. I already have these credentials created for my Windows worker. It's the ST001, credentials ST001. Definitely don't have this. So I'll show you where the values are created. Top left. So in here I've already created a value for the worker node. Here it is at the bottom. I like to use the host name and the IP address so you can easily distinguish between what's what. Populate the details, create it. Populate the credentials. Enter the password. What we don't have here is the USB serial number, and that's going to be a text variable. One, call my USB key that. Now to get that serial number, plug the device into the worker. In the PowerShell, run get disk. You'll see your disk there. That's the serial number. Go back across to Attune. Let's make this a bit more user-friendly. So I'll populate the variable as a text value. Now that's created, I will populate that in the list here. So we've got the serial number. I'll save that job. There are no errors left, everything's green across the board. We go across to run. One, I've got a whole series of jobs here that I run against that machine. I specifically want to create this bootable USB. So, let's play. Fingers crossed I've done the right thing here. We'll see it run, and Attune will capture the log from each step. So it's when you're writing these steps, it's great practice to have it write anything you want. You can reference it later on. Helps debugging. But here we go. Excellent example. Does not recognize. Oh, I didn't put this in quotes. Serial number. This one. It needs to be a string. Amateur hour. Why didn't you tell me that? So you can see it's very good. Captures the log, and I can kick this job off again. I've easily debugged, finished the fix. Realistically, if I had this job proven, I can go do something else. But I will hang around just in case I've got a few more typos in there. Very good. We could probably add some other stuff there to go back and verify that the disk was wiped. Oh, fantastic. Another. Should have known. That mistake will be relentless throughout every step. So I will step through now and go edit each individual step for that rookie error. Luckily, Attune is very forgiving. So I'm thinking here, this one, yeah. Okay, so we should be good now. So Attune can be started from anywhere in the job if you wanted to. I could either run it from this step, run it from the beginning again if you really felt. I could run only this step and just prove that I fixed it properly. It'll run and just stop when it's finished. We've got our new partition, 32 gig, fantastic. 5-letter E, wonderful. So I've just moved it to the next step, but I'm going to run this through to finish the job. There we go. That has been nicely formatted. Movable and healthy. Yeah, could probably get that to print better. Alrighty. So if we jump across to our working machine, I can now see that. I check out my USB key. We can see it here populated. Go back. So let's eject, and I will plug that into the machine behind me. Here we go. Now conveniently, I have a PiKVM connected to that. PiKVM is a keyboard, video and mouse over IP. So it has all the peripherals connected to that NUC, so I can control it from any other device. Log into the machine. I think I typed that wrong. Nah, look at that. Fantastic. We're on this machine. Just for sanity's sake, you can see I connected my USB key. Let's reboot, and we will see this machine boot from that USB key that we just created. I've configured all this and the ISO to not require any key push boot. It will just load straight in the USB key and start installing. And when it finishes the installation, it will reboot and do it again. So I have to pull the USB key out after it's copied across all the files. I'll implement something later on to resolve that. So right here, this is the startup script that runs from our ISO image. Should have installed the drivers. Now it's looking for my Samba share, and the Samba share, conveniently, is this same worker. There we go. Found everything it was looking for. Copy it across. Oh, that ISO image is using, the reason it looks for a Samba share is it's using a WinPE ISO image, so it's very small, 300 meg, copied across very quickly, and once it's installing, it pulls all the files it needs from the Samba share. Really efficient, very quick to build. Getting the files ready for installation. I can pull this USB key out now, I hope. I'm going to put this project on GitHub. If you would like to clone it yourself or follow the, be able to see the scripts and follow the scripts that I've written, you can do that. So we go new repository. What are we going to call this project? Windows Storage APIs. That's pretty good. Alright, here it is. So let's walk through pushing this job into GitHub. So it can be pushed to any Git repository. First off, I want to commit. So all the work in Attune is version controls. Could have been making commits each step, but once I've fixed it, got it. Generally, the very first time I create everything, I just do it all in one go. But fixes, I will commit after each individual fix. So let's say created bootable USB blueprint. Commit. I've got to enter the remote. GitHub, save that. I've already got my GitHub credentials in here. You can add your own credentials through either the little user account at the top right or in through here. I'll go back to commit push. Project push. Now if I go across, refresh this page, and voila. Attune is auto documenting. So it went and created all this. And what else it did is, if we go to settings, turn on GitHub pages, tell it the master branch, the docs directory, save that. It also produces documentation of all the steps in all of the blueprints. So if we look at the actions, so building the pages now. So if you also want to see the documentation, you use your GitHub Pages website. So that's the website for this repository. Click that link. Voila. If I'd put a project description, that would be rendered here. Same with the blueprint. If it had a blueprint description, that would be rendered here. I'll go back and do all those things. So this, step by step, everything we just created. All this documentation was automatically generated, and each commit it is regenerated. It's self-documenting. It's absolutely fantastic. Should say, if you want to clone this project that I have just created, very similar to what I did at the beginning, but instead of create a blank project, you'll select clone, and this clone URL, this is the URL, the Git URL. You'd copy that and paste that there and select clone. Clone all the steps and you will see exactly what I have here. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment or reach out to us on our Discord channel. Have a good day.